Hi and thanks for joining us. On today's show, I'm joined by my good friend of over 20 years, Peter. We discuss the topic on everyone's mind, is Coutinho set to leave Liverpool Football Club? And as always, we'll have predictions and fantasy advice. So once again, we invite you to sit back, relax and join us over the pool and far away. Hello and thanks for joining us today. As I said in the intro there, I'm joined by my good friend Peter, who I grew up around the corner from. Say hello to everyone, Peter.
Hello, nice, thanks for having me, Rich.
No problem, always a pleasure. It's going to be a little bit strange this, because it's the first time that I've done it with someone in the room with me, but the bright side obviously is you get that sort of face to face. So we shouldn't talk over each other as much as we do usually, and the quality should be better. So anyway, without further ado, we'll start on the main topic of the day. Don't think I really need to tell you what it is, so it's Coutinho. First question, we're going to come at it from a different angle here, is he right to want to leave Liverpool? What do you think, Peter?
I mean, long term, I think he probably is for his own career. I don't think he's right to want to leave at this point in the season. Barcelona are what? They're running away with their championship, La Liga. He'd be cup tied for the Champions League. The way Liverpool have been playing recently, you've got to say they've got a chance at at least getting to the quarters, the semis of the Champions League. I mean, he can go and sit on the bench for Barca in the Champions League, obviously cup tied, and play with them for the rest of the season. But I think he should stay with Liverpool for the rest of the season, and then if he wants to go, which every Latino player wants to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid, then go at the end of the season.
Spot on. I think it's a very mature way to look at it, and I've seen a lot of people sort of come at him and say, how dare you leave, and this is Liverpool and all that. But the fact of the matter is, if you get a chance to play with Suarez and Messi and you're an attacking midfielder, you'd be crazy to pass that up at the best of times. Then you'd add in the fact that, as you say, he is a Latino player. I have no problem with this whatsoever. I think it's been poorly dealt with by Barcelona. They've clearly tapped him up. I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. We clearly tapped Van Dijk up, but fortunately for us, there was apparently not enough evidence. What Barcelona have done is blatant. I think the tea lady is the only person who hasn't had an opinion on Coutinho. We've had the backroom staff, we've had all their players, we've had the manager. The manager's probably the only one who's come out to this with any credit. Ernesto Valverde actually said, we don't want to talk about him because he's a Liverpool player, and fair play to him for that. But the rest of them, I think they've become a hate figure at Liverpool now. I think the rivalry chain goes Manchester United, Everton, and then Barcelona.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the Mascherano transfer, if you remember that.
Yeah.
When he stopped playing for us, and I think we sold him in the end for 25 million tops when we bought him for 18 a couple of seasons before, when he was sitting on the bench at West Ham. And I think it's the same thing what Barcelona are doing now. They're trying all this tapping up. It's not because they're trying to just get him, because that's an inevitability.
Yeah.
It's the trying to get him as cheap as possible
in
this current market. So that's why all this tactics where, to try and unsettle him and create instability at the club or whatever. But I think Liverpool need to make sure they just get as much, as they can for him, and put a premium on him for Barcelona's tactics.
Spot on. Pretty much what Southampton did to us with
Yeah,
Van Dijk.
Exactly. That's what happened to us with Van Dijk. We had 75 million. That's a ridiculous price for Van Dijk. No, I'm not saying he's not great or he's not good, but if Van Dijk's 75 million, what's Coutinho?
We have to be realistic here, and at the end of the day, we got Coutinho for 8.5 million, and people will rightly say Coutinho's career was going nowhere until we came along. And that's right, but he's given us, I don't know how many seasons it is, but he's given us a good few seasons. I personally am not on the Coutinho bandwagon of thinking he's as great as he is. I still think there's a lot more to come from Coutinho, and that more than anything, that's kind of what disappoints me. I don't think we're going to see his peak, and I think Barcelona will, because he'll mature as a player. He'll mature playing around those players, and he'll mature in that league, because it's just perfectly suited for him. He'll get all the time in the world on the ball. It's just a completely different pace of league, and I think if you'd have said last year, can we replace Coutinho, I'd have said yeah, but I don't think we could cope long term without him. Whereas now I look where the squad's going, where the team's going, the direction, and I do think as big a loss as Coutinho will be to us, I think Naby Keita straight away alleviates the pain. Completely different player in his style, but as important, if not more so, because we need more of someone who can get the ball from midfield to attack. The ball seems to slow down when it gets to Coutinho. For all the great things he does slow the game down, and you just get the feeling that under Klopp he wants it a little bit quicker. So I don't think it'll be this be all and end all. Oh, we can't deal without Coutinho. Maybe I'm looking at it in rose tinted glasses, but do you think there's sort of going to be a tactical shift that could improve the team as a whole? Or
I mean, there has to be a tactical shift, because I can't think of anyone who we could get who could replace Coutinho.
No.
So when you talk in terms of replacement, it's just about getting somebody else, and yet that they will have to change the way they play to accommodate whoever comes in. Naby Keita is coming at the end of the year, but there'll have to be a tactical shift, I suppose, is that the tactics change when he's not on the pitch anyway.
And I think the thing with Coutinho is a lot of him, he's played sort of out of an inside left, if you like. Thomas Lemar is more likely to be comfortable in that role than Coutinho. And I know it sounds strange, but he's got a lot of what Coutinho brings. But he's also got that versatility that Klopp loves. And I'm kind of moving ahead of myself here because I was going to say about replacements, but I just think that people see Coutinho as a classic number 10, and he is that. And I don't think he's had the chance to play that at Liverpool. And I think a big reason that he's not progressed to the levels that I think he can be is because we're not the right team for him. And it's painful to admit, but you look at Coutinho and you look at Barcelona and you just think, if there's anybody in the world who can replace Andres Iniesta, it's Philip Coutinho.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. I mean, going back to what you're saying about Lemar, as to whether or not he's a direct replacement for him, obviously he's not, but that's the quality of player that we need to just be bringing into the club in general, and if you're getting players in all positions of the quality of him, then, it doesn't matter who we lose, we'll be alright.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, I mean, you have to be careful because they are only reports, but there's certain reports that are more reliable, certain sources that are more reliable than others, and they've pretty much got Thomas Lemar as, we've been getting him for like a season, do you know what I mean, from last year, or 6 months, sorry, I should say, not a season. And I believe it. I believe he's the perfect replacement. I believe we'll just pay the 90 million euros that Monaco have said. And I also believe that Man United, I know for a fact that Arsenal are interested because Wenger admitted it. But apparently Man United and Chelsea were also interested as well, among others. So that gives you an idea of the calibre of player. And like, I was on the record when Salah and Mane came in, I had no qualms about either of them because I felt like they fit what Klopp's about. And I would say that Lemar is very much that kind of player. If anything, he reminds me a little bit of, if we're going to compare him to previous Klopp players, he's a little bit Marco Reus-esque. More of a provider, but he's got that close control in tight spaces. He can score goals, he can make goals as well. It's a bit of a laboured comparison, but it's kind of the best one I can come up with from what I've seen from Klopp. I don't think Coutinho was ever... Klopp's never had anyone like Coutinho before. It was like he almost had to find out what to do with him. Do you know what I mean? He was like a luxury player for Klopp. And he plays like a luxury player. He doesn't play like he's part of the rest of the team. He plays like this separate entity. And yeah, he's phenomenal to watch at times, but other times when the team's not playing as well as it could be, Coutinho can be found wanting. He can drift out of games. And I think people kind of polish that up when you see him scoring these worldies and having these incredible games like against Swansea and Arsenal and Man City a couple of seasons ago. But there is that side of him where he will disappear. And to some degree that'll happen with every player. But with Coutinho, for me, for a player of his talent, it's happened too much. And I come back to the point where, is it because we're not right for Coutinho and Coutinho's not right for us in a weird way?
Yeah, I don't know. I do know what you mean about him going missing in games, because that's something for the last few years that I've always said about him. There are games where he goes missing, but I think this season and maybe towards the end of last season, he's getting a lot more consistent.
Yeah, I agree.
Where those games are fewer and further between. Which it's just a shame that we're unlikely to see what he is going to be in the next year or two, because if he keeps improving at the rate he has, I think he's going to be up there with, like, I don't know, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, as the if he was in this league, the top number 10s in the league. And like you said, if he goes to Barca to replace Iniesta, although I think he's a different kind of player to Iniesta, I think he can definitely do a job in that role for them.
Yeah, completely agree. I think he is a different player to Iniesta, but I think he's a different player to Iniesta now because of the way we ask him to play. I think he can go there and just slot in and learn from Iniesta and add so much more to his game. And in that setup with the players they have in that league, he's just going to be so much more suited to it. And that's why I've got no problem. He came in for 8.5 million. If we get 130 million plus, can we really have a go at the lad? His dreams of playing for Barcelona. We all have a dream. If it was someone dreaming of playing for Liverpool and it was going the other way, we wouldn't have this hypocrisy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
again, I agree. I'm a fan of Liverpool. It pains me to see good players leave Liverpool but at the end of the day, they're professionals, and any professional wants to get to the top of their profession. And unfortunately, again, a bitter reality that you've got to accept is Liverpool is not the pinnacle of world football.
Agreed. It is to us.
It is to us, but to somebody who hasn't got a loyalty to the club.
Yeah.
We're pretty. We're not far off the pinnacle.
No,
for the top
and we're getting
players
closer.
Want to get to the very top, and just again, unfortunately, it pains me to say it. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Again, if you're from a Latino background, that's where you want to play. And we're not in the worst situation because there's fans of other teams, what have got 15 or 20 teams that can poach players from them legitimately for them to be going up the ladder. For us, I don't think there's anyone in England, and I think even like the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain coming to us from Arsenal have shown that we can compete with any team in England, prestige-wise or for the player's career. But when it comes to the Spanish players or the Latino players, but we just haven't got the same pull as Barcelona or Real Madrid.
I think what we're starting to do is we're kind of becoming slightly Bayern Munich-esque in that we're looking into our league and we're getting the best players in our league to turn down other teams. Obviously, it's easier for Bayern because they've, dominated German football in a recent way. But you look at Salah, who'd already been to England and could come back. He chooses Liverpool. Mane chooses Liverpool. These have got the pick. Oxlade-Chamberlain chooses Liverpool, and then out of the blue, Van Dijk. I'm not being funny. When he was first linked with Liverpool, and then Chelsea and Man City were after him, I didn't even entertain it. And yet, I remember Klopp saying, "I'm going to turn doubters into believers." Well, he with Van Dijk. I mean, I'm a big fan of Klopp, and I am a believer in him. But I didn't believe that a player like Van Dijk, who has the ability that he has and is like such a wanted player, I didn't believe that between FSG would want to pay 75 million for him, the Klopp would be okay with paying 75. And I think it wasn't just a signing, it was like almost a moral shift, if you like. To that point, we were always seen as the good guys. We had to buy the cheaper players, and there was a hypocrisy. Like, it's not like we didn't spend any money, but we didn't compete with your Man Uniteds and your Man Cities and your Chelseas. And Van Dijk, we did. and we won. We came out the other end smiling.
I think, yeah, even going back to Mane, apparently Mane had an offer on the table from United, turned down to come to us. Obviously, Oxlade-Chamberlain could have gone to Chelsea if he didn't want to stay at Arsenal, come to us. Van Dijk turned down to City, apparently, to come to us. And even if you just go back, you can go back over the last 10 or 15 years. Go back to one player that springs to mind is Nemanja Vidic. We were after him. United come in, he turned us down. Who else? Going back, Willian. Do you remember we were after Willian?
Yeah,
Willian,
Tottenham and then Chelsea.
He turned us down for Tottenham and then turned Tottenham down for Chelsea. And there's, I can't think of any offhand now. But the fact that that's changing, and if that's down to Klopp or whatever that's down to, big players that we're going after are no longer turning us down for other English teams. They're turning them down for us. That only bodes well for the future. And I think it is. It's an exciting time to be a Liverpool fan.
Completely agree. Yeah. And the other thing is, when Coutinho goes, and it is when, there's going to be a certain faction of Liverpool fans who are going to go, well, we only got Van Dijk because Coutinho was going. Partly that might be true. I don't think it is personally, and I think the fact that Klopp came out and said we don't need to sell to buy, I actually believe that. But if you're getting offered 130 million plus for a player who's unhappy, who wants to play in a different club, just, let them be two separate entities. We got Van Dijk. We didn't sell anyone to buy Van Dijk. We bought Van Dijk first. We also got Keita. So between them, you're talking about 130 million anyway. And now we're looking at Lamar for 90 million euros. We want Goretzka, so we probably end up paying 20 million euros for him to try and get him early. This is forward progress. This is a team. And you look at the players that he's got and what he's been able to do with them. What's he going to be able to do when he starts getting potentially world-class players? I mean, for all the hype about Salah, and maybe hype's not the right word or whatever, he's starting to prove it, but for all the hype of Salah and Mane and Firmino and all that, they're not world-class players. He's making them world-class players. He's doing what Man United used to do, what Ferguson used to do. Players on the cusp of being there are coming in, and we're making players, we're not buying them. It's the same with Van Dijk. For all that he is probably the best centre-back in the Premier League, overall, in terms of ability, which is why everyone wanted him, he's not in what he's done and what he's proven. And he's a long away from world class. But you get the feeling that Klopp's going to make him a world class player, the same way he's doing with Salah, same way he's going to do with Mane, same way he's doing with Firmino.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem to know how to get the best out of attacking players in particular. I don't know if he knows what positions to play them in or tell them what kinds of runs to make. I seen something on YouTube the other day that was meant to kind of analyse the tactics of Liverpool's front 3 or 4, but I don't know, I thought it was a bit crap, to be honest. But, yeah, I mean, I suppose you could say, Mane, Salah, when they arrived, you wouldn't say they're world class. And now you could say they're definitely on the way to becoming it. Firmino, I don't know what constitutes world class anymore.
True, it is a way. I'm guilty of using it. Basically, I'm saying among the world's best players.
Among the world's best players, yeah. And
I think the original definition of world class, or the one that people seem to stick to most, is that you would make a world 11.
Right, okay.
But I don't agree with that. I think you can be world class because if you've got two players who are both world class in their position, and there's nothing between the two of them, doesn't stop the other one being world class, does it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree. So if they're in the top, what you call the top category of footballers in the world, I mean the stats for Liverpool's front 4 speaks for themselves, really. But I hope I agree with what you're saying. I hope Klopp can do that once he starts buying players again. Though the ones that come in, Lamar, I mean, great players. He's got a number of caps for France or whatever. Had a couple of great seasons for Monaco. But again, you wouldn't say he's out and out world class.
No.
Contender for the Ballon d'Or every year or whatever.
But he's one of those players that the top teams want, and they want him because they know he's on the cusp of being something special.
Well, that's it.
And that's the kind of player that we're getting now, and that's FSG's model. And for all the people who've criticised it, look on the pitch. Do you not like what you're seeing?
Well, you've only got to look back to, I don't know, the Hicks and Gillette times, really. And we haven't had a big benefactor or whatever. We haven't had a sheikh or a an oligarch come in and throw cash at us. So FSG, there's always some kind of, there's a financial model at play with what they do, and yeah, I think they've done well to keep us competitive, considering, when they took over. When did they take over? 2012, 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
The club was half an hour away from going bankrupt.
I remember watching that on the news, actually.
Yeah,
that was the day I got this tattoo. For people who can't see it, actually says "You'll never walk alone" on my arm, and it was just a quick little story. It was basically, I was watching it on the telly, and I felt really helpless, and I decided that the only thing that I could do was show me support. So I went into town and got my tattoo, and that was it. Stupid story, but
no, that's if you would have been in the champion, because we'd have got, like, if you go bankrupt, you get the points docked and all that, and I don't think we were doing great that season anyway.
I actually thought it was going to happen. I thought, the pessimist in me thought, oh no, I didn't understand enough what was going on. I wasn't paying enough attention. It was just basically Yanks bad, get them out kind of thing.
Get some good ones in.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing. If these owners weren't American, they wouldn't come in for the same stick. And we've said, I wouldn't say we're like huge proponents of FSG on here, but they do some things wrong. But I think we're more pro than against, because you look at what they've been able to do, as you say, from bankruptcy, and people go, oh, but they're running the club like a business. Well, newsflash, we are a business. And if you don't like that, you should have been complaining about Sky taking over in the 90s. You've missed a boat. It's too late to complain about that. Every club in the world is a business now. Every top side anyway. Anyone who can make money. Even the smaller sides, they still run like businesses. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
definitely. But there's so much money involved now anyway that, I think even Chelsea make a profit, I think, now. And I'm not sure about City, but most clubs do, turn a profit, apart from the ones with the big, benevolent benefactor, owners who are just super billionaires. But we've either got one of them or you haven't, and we haven't got one. And whether or not we've received some big transfer fees, we've laid out some big transfer fees. Now, it's an interesting question. If we hadn't have received so much in, would we have still been splashing out the kind of money that we had? If we weren't about to get a big chunk of money for Coutinho, would we have paid 75 million for Virgil van Dijk? And the answer is, I don't know.
I tend to think we would have, because it's kind of a speculate to accumulate. That's kind of how FSG, from the business model I've seen, watching the Boston Red Sox, and not going in too much to American sports, even though the majority of people who listen to this podcast are American. They had a business model where it was all about being successful, and people say, oh, but they were fans of the team. Yeah, they were fans of the team, but it didn't mean that they weren't businessmen. They knew the model worked, and it was Billy Beane who, again, not to go too much into it, but he was the Oakland Athletics guy, and you've probably seen Moneyball, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that's him.
Okay.
He's the guy who realised that statistics played a bigger part in sport than most people thought, and the scepticism when he came into baseball, he was seen as the Antichrist, because baseball is very traditional and it's not about numbers, and well, it is about numbers, but it's not about these kind of numbers where you can, say a player's got more worth based on numbers that you'd never seen before. And yet I look at the signings that Liverpool are making, and their Moneyball signings, they fit in the same category, and the same people who are saying we don't want that are the same people who are absolutely delighted that Mane and Salah and Coutinho and all them, because let's not forget Coutinho was Brendan Rodgers, wasn't he?
Yeah.
2012,
2013,
so that would have been one of theirs as well, and everyone seems to forget about that.
Well, I've just been thinking then, just whether or not you want FSG to spend regardless of what they're getting in. I think just the very fact that the players that they're buying, they're able to sell them for so much money a few years later, that's a good thing no matter what. You know, at least there's, however the money's coming in to be spent, to spend big on big players. You know, I mean, it's you know, it's irrelevant really. You know, if we were buying, you know, if we'd have bought Coutinho, for example, in 2013 for 30 million, and he was no good, and we were selling him now for 5 million or whatever, they'd be saying, look at the transfer policy's terrible.
Yeah.
So you can't win either way, really.
Yeah, exactly. But the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in eating. And you look on that pitch, as I say, is anyone having a pop? Is anyone saying that? Like, everyone's throwing it at players like Clavin, and Clavin was bought as a fourth choice centre back. Do you know what I mean? And he's improving massively this season. You're seeing real improvements to his game.
Yeah, I think Clavin was kind of like the one that the manager always gets in at the start, to be like the eyes and ears in the dressing room.
Possibly.
Like Jean-Michel Ferry or something. And who did Nunes, I think, I'd say for Benitez, do you remember?
No, Nunes was part of the Owen deal.
Was he, yeah?
Yeah, Antonio Nunes, the lawyer.
Who was the first?
It would have been... you got me thinking now. Pellegrino come around that time. Big one for Rafa.
He was awful.
And he was obviously manager of Southampton now, so I think he always wanted to be a coach, and I think working with Benitez was massive for him. Like, and he obviously played for him at Valencia as well. But anyway, we're going off on a tangent. It's usually me that drags us off on a tangent here. But just a little update for those of you who'll be listening to this. Chelsea just took the lead 2-1 against Arsenal. Now I realise obviously they're not going to listen to this till either later on tonight or tomorrow. But Marcus Alonso. So Arsenal couldn't do us a favour by the looks of it. There's still time. But it's looking like Chelsea might be able to see that out. I'm trying to cry it in, as you can probably tell. So we're going to go on to fixtures, predictions. Well, I would have said 2-1 Chelsea, obviously. No, we're not going to do that game. I think I would have gone for the draw. What do you reckon? What would you have gone for? Being honest, would you have gone with Chelsea?
I don't know, to be honest. No, probably a draw as well.
So,
I would have wanted Chelsea to win though, because I want to keep a bit of distance between the top four and the rest, if possible.
Yeah,
so,
I like where you're coming from.
Spurs and Arsenal currently outside the top four. They can lose. You know, Chelsea and United can keep winning as long as we keep winning.
Yeah.
As long as we I don't care if we finish second, third, or fourth. As long as we finish in the top four.
Very, very good way to look at it. Not something I'd taken into consideration, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Actually, more I think about it. Obviously, I just want United to lose every game, but that's. As you do yourself. Oh, look at that, would you believe it? Hector Bellerin, 92nd minute. Cried that one in, didn't we?
Aye, 2-2.
Yeah, so with the Arsenal and Chelsea drawing, what does that mean for us? Let's have a quick look at the table. Chelsea are 2 points ahead of us, and Arsenal are 5 points behind us. Sounds pretty good to me, that. Tottenham have got a game in hand on us, they're 4 points behind us, but yeah, pretty much. I mean, I agree with what you were saying before about maybe you'd want Chelsea to win to some degree, but they've kind of slit each other's throats, haven't they? Which is good for us.
Yeah, I suppose now thinking about it, a draw isn't the worst result. Yeah.
No, but I get what you mean. If Chelsea would have won, and it would have been down to, but. Yeah, anyway, we could look at it. There's so many different permutations. It's only halfway through the season. It's so long to go now. And I'm a bit remiss because at the start I said we do our predictions, and then I realised that it's FA Cup week.
Aye.
So we won't be doing any predictions. We gave you a draw prediction in the 86th minute of the Chelsea game, which came to fruition. So if you would have been listening live, you might have made a few quid on that. Apologies that you weren't. I don't know. I've gone off on one now. I wasn't expecting it to be 2-2. I wasn't expecting any of this to happen. It's the best laid plans of mice and men and all that. But there is the small matter, because it's FA Cup weekend, of a Merseyside derby.
That's right.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that after the
Well,
is it a chance for revenge?
I was reading something either on Facebook or somewhere on the internet today, or I overheard someone at work saying a strange fact that nobody has ever scored a winning goal at a Derby FA Cup game at Anfield.
I heard that as well.
And I was just thinking back, like, I can only remember really maybe two in my lifetime. I think there was one not 5 or 6 years ago. Jagielka scored an equaliser in the last minute.
Was that like Rocky?
That was a FA Cup game, I'm pretty sure.
Was that? I thought that was a league game.
I thought that was I'm sure.
You might be right. I don't know.
And then there was the series of ones that led to Kenny Dalglish's resignation in 1990 or 91 or whatever, which there was the 4-4 at Goodison.
Yeah.
But I think that was a secondary play.
Surely
so there definitely there'd been one.
Yeah.
Or was that a replay? But then it went to another yeah.
That was the best game the Liverpool and Everton have ever played together, by far. Well, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So history. If history's followed, I guess it should be a draw. But it's a derby and it's a cup game, so everything's out the window really.
Nice. Do you see them doing anything different? They're going to come and park the bus, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing? Or do you think, has Allardyce got enough about him to say, you know what, we were very lucky last time, let's try and play some football?
I'll be honest, I have been surprised at the way Everton have played under Allardyce. I think they've been a lot better than people originally would have given him credit for, because they've got him down as like a hit and hope merchant, park the bus. But I've only seen him in a couple of games. I think it was his first full game. I can't remember who they were playing. They won 2-0 anyway. I think there was a couple of great goals scored. Some great football on the ground. So I think they'll come and have a go. I mean, it's a cup game. It's Everton Liverpool. I think they'll come and have a go. I don't think they'll win. I think Liverpool will win, depending on what team Klopp puts out. But I think it'll be a good game. Friday night football. Friday night derby, FA Cup.
Yeah, all day. People have been booking their days off work on Friday so they can go and get bladdered. So clearly there's going to be no trouble around the ground.
No, I think it should be well policed anyway. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a good game. I do. But again, prediction. I think Liverpool will win it. I just think we've got something over Everton. I don't know when the last time they beat us was. I don't know when the last time they beat us at Anfield was anyway. I think the last time they beat us at all is about 5-6 years ago once, and then at Anfield I think it goes back to 96 or something since they beat us at Anfield. Or 95, 96, I think I was there, Kanchelskis.
Yeah. Near post, David James.
Yeah,
remember that well, sadly.
Yeah, so do I. Actually thinking back, it was November 95.
95.
But 95-96 season. I think that's the last time they beat us at Anfield, so yeah.
Do you know what? David James came to our school that year.
Yeah.
And Evertonians were holding up. They'd all been in our class. So all of a sudden they were all Picasso, do you know what I mean?
Right.
And they were all holding up posters. Kanchelskis is great, and how'd you get beat at your near post and all that. And we weren't supposed to meet David James. It was supposed to be something for all the clever kids who got all the A's and things like that, and it was their reward. And me and my mate at the time, Barry, decided that was bullshit, and we waited out in the car park and met David James anyway.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah,
So it's bad enough going to an elite school. So yeah, little bit of trivia for yourself there. I think I like where you're coming from, but I don't think for a second they're going to play football.
No.
I think they're terrified of us, and I think they're right to be terrified of us. They open up the game, we'll destroy them. Allardyce knows that, he's too smart. I'll give him this, he's intelligent. Can't play football, but he's intelligent. And I'll also agree with you that they've done better than I thought they'd do, but the game was still based on long ball. If you watch Pickford trying to hoof that ball up, just because they weren't good at it doesn't mean they weren't trying to do it. I think Pickford must have set some kind of Premier League record there for how many times he kicked the ball into touch from goal kicks and from outside of his hands. It was just ridiculous. We were watching it laughing our heads off, and I mean, obviously to some degree they got the last laugh, but I think this will be a really true test of the player's character, because Everton stole one there and they'll be delighted, and if our lads have got anything about them, they'll be seething at what happened, Lovren as well, and they will be wanting revenge in a big way, and they should be all be playing 100%. It should be like one of them. But I'll give Allardyce this. While I don't agree with the football that they played, or the idea that they played football, I'll give them this. I thought they were going to come and kick us off the park, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They were actually really well drilled. They sat back, they defended channels rather than players. And it was like a lesson in defensive football. I mean, if you were an Italian back in the 70s and 80s or whatever, or what's his name, Helenio Herrera, he would have loved that. Do you know what I mean? That would have been his Catenaccio.
Yeah.
Outstanding. And in Italy they'd have been building Sophies for Allardyce, but not here, mate. It's not how we do things.
No, I guess, I don't know, I suppose it could be a bit of like an opposite, like a confirmation bias thing with me, because to be honest, I haven't really seen that much of Everton since Allardyce has taken over, but the brief flashes of them I have seen, I've seen them play some good football, so it might have been the only time they put 3 passes together in the whole match, but it's just the bit that I see. So
I know, like against Huddersfield and that, they played a bit, and yeah, I'll give you that, but again, against Man United and Liverpool, they were garbage, and they were garbage against us. They were the second worst team to come to Anfield this season, regardless of how well drilled they were, and Swansea were the worst.
Okay.
Because Swansea were just woeful back to front. You can at least say that Everton defended well. Yeah. Swansea, God love them, they were clueless. They didn't have a clue. And I like Paul Clement as well. I just think he needs money and he needs time, and he wasn't getting either at Swansea. So
who do you think is going to start up front?
It's tricky.
Salah's out, I guess. Mane,
it's going to be Firmino, isn't it?
Yeah, Mane, I know tonight they've gone to, or tomorrow night they're going to Ghana or
the Ghana for the
African Football of the Year Awards.
That's right.
And that's on, so that they've got like 24 hours to get back from, I don't know, what is it, 10-11 hour flight.
I think Mane's
plays. Injured, any? Do you think Salah's injured.
I think Mane plays.
Do you think Mane will play?
Then again, apparently I heard from Mane himself, not me personally, I wasn't talking to him, but when he was interviewed he said I wasn't feeling well before and during the game.
That's right, yeah.
So if he's still suffering from the after effects of that, then like a 12-hour flight's not really what you want.
Yeah, definitely not.
So maybe he doesn't start. Maybe it's Firmino and Solanke. Maybe the two of them together. We haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
I just, to be honest with you, I'm not worried, because I know that Klopp will get it right in an attacking sense. He always does.
Okay, well,
nearly always does. The one player who, and I keep saying it, the one player who I definitely want to see is Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think he's such a massive difference maker for the Liverpool team. Nobody moves the ball from midfield to attack faster than he does, and even Coutinho. And I know I'm not saying that he's better than Coutinho, but at what he does, he is.
But his form the last 5-6 weeks has been very good. I have to agree with.
I love him. I just think he's turning into a box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah.
His tackling's been out of this world at times. Some of the tackles, like do you know what he reminds me of as well? He's got that Gerrard in him. When he goes in for a tackle, he goes in like he means it. Like, that's my ball, and if it's not my ball, it's not your ball, because you're not walking away. I love that. As long as it's fair, you know, like he's going for the ball. I love that, and he's got that. And I was a massive fan of Oxlade-Chamberlain, and was delighted to see that we were linked with him. And I actually called him coming to Liverpool like a year before he did, maybe even 2 years, because in the interviews every time Klopp would talk about Arsenal, he'd talk about Oxlade-Chamberlain. He'd go, oh, they've got some cracking players. They've got Sanchez and they've got Ozil and they've got Oxlade-Chamberlain. Oxlade-Chamberlain's name would always come up, whether he was injured, whether he was out of form, whatever, and you could just tell he was a massive fan, and you could tell that Oxlade-Chamberlain wasn't going to sign for Arsenal. So I pat on the back for me on that one, I think.
And I think a lot of, including maybe even myself, a lot of fans would say that their opinion has changed in the last 4 or 5 weeks, because he didn't have it easy when he first came.
No, he worked his way in.
He was shocking in the first couple of games, but that happens when you join a new club to certain players. But I think everyone can agree now he's starting to show how good.
Do you know what it reminds me of? When Man United used to get a new player in, and I hate to all on Man United, but the fact is they were the benchmark when we were growing up. Just simple as that. If you deny that, you're just deluding yourself. And the reason that Man United were the benchmark is because they were run like a business, both on the field and off the field. And what United used to be able to do was interchange players easily. And when a new player had come along, like, say, I'm trying to think of a good example. Quentin Fortune, right? Not a great footballer.
Not what I expected.
Exactly, no, but this is the point. Not a great footballer. Not a player who you'll ever remember setting the league alight, but did his job. And the reason he did his job is because the transition was seamless. He went into the team when it was the right time for him to go into the team, and he knew his role. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Oxlade-Chamberlain. And when Van Dijk comes along, he'll do exactly the same, and the reason is because Klopp won't put him in until he's ready to go in. And people will say, nah, what's this? He's a professional footballer, he needs to go in now. No, it doesn't work that way.
He hasn't played a great deal of football over the last 10, 12 months or so, has he?
I hear people saying he's going to play in the derby. There's no chance. No chance at all. If he does, it would be credit to Van Dijk, and it would be worrying for me, because that's not like Klopp's MO. And whether you like it or not, Manchester United and Liverpool will be linked for the rest of the time. And Manchester United became great based on doing things the Liverpool way, and Manchester United fans hate that or won't acknowledge that, but Matt Busby was the one who made Manchester United great, and Matt Busby learned his trade at Liverpool.
Okay.
And then Ferguson came along and decided he was going to knock Liverpool off their quote fucking perch, and did exactly that, if we're being honest. And now Klopp's come along and has a lot of the not character in, he's a different personality, but he has a lot of the traits that Ferguson has, and I think that's why when he came along, Ferguson said, he openly said, I'm worried about Klopp at Liverpool. And I think greatness can see greatness. Maybe it's just me, but I think we're intrinsically linked with Manchester United. Love, hate, whatever. Do you know what I mean? And we don't have that with Everton.
Yeah, I mean, well, definitely I think we're going in the, like, Ferguson, fear and Klopp or whatever, is I agree with that. I think we're definitely going in the right direction under Klopp. I think, he deserves time to hopefully, build something. Like you look at Ferguson, I don't know, when did he join? 1986, I think he joined United, and he won his first league title in 92, 93. So what's that, 7 years? 6, 7 years?
You're the one with maths.
So
don't ask me that.
No, I don't know, I'm just saying, people, forget that it wasn't just an overnight success for Fergie.
No, it wasn't. Well, Mark Robbins kept him in a job, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right, against the FA Cup game or something.
And people say, oh no, that's not the case, but it was. He was going to get sacked.
He was going to get sacked, and he scored. But that was only after a few months or something. Yeah. But I think his first trophy was the FA Cup in 1990. So that's 4 years. So what are we now? We're at the end of Klopp's second full season, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So got to give him time.
But anyway, that was my tangent. I apologise for that. Sorry. But Liverpool, Everton. Prediction?
2-1, I think, to Liverpool.
I think, and bear in mind, when I was on the podcast when Liverpool were playing against Everton, I turned around and said, this is a game we need to be worried about. This is a potential banana skin. They're going to come, they're going to shit deep, and we're going to need to take our chances. We didn't take our chances. I think it's going to be exactly the same again. If we had our best team out, Salah, Mane, if they were all guaranteed to play, I think we'd tear them a new arse. But I don't think it's going to be like that. But I do think we'll win. Okay. And I think 2-0 Liverpool.
Right.
I think we're going to break them down, and then there's going to be a chance at some point where we're going to need to take it and they're going to need to come out at us. I think it might be late on, and if we take that chance it's 2-0, if we don't it's 1-0. They're not scoring in this game. Not this time.
Okay, well, the history buffs among you or whatever, if history repeats itself, bet on a draw, but I think Liverpool will win. Maybe
we're just biased, but no, the thing is, right, if I'd have watched Everton and they'd have played well against Man United, I would have given them more credit. But, and let's face it, one of the reasons they didn't play well against Man United is because they had one eye on Liverpool, because we are their cup final. Simple as that. Any Everton players that you would keep an eye out for? Anyone who you think can change the game, other than the obvious Wayne Rooney?
No, I think just Wayne Rooney was what I was going to say.
I'm trying to get a little bit more out here for Everton.
Yeah, I don't really know a great deal about Everton players, to be honest with you. I don't really follow them. Who have they gone? Trying to think who they've got. No, they bought a load of midfielders over the summer. Sigurdsson is a quality player if he plays.
He won't play if Rooney plays, though. I
think Jordan Pickford's a great goalkeeper as well.
He's a very good goalkeeper. I wouldn't go as far as saying great.
Well, maybe he's got the potential. He's only young, isn't he? But I would like to see. I've seen us get him in the summer.
I'd like to see us get Jack Butland while we're on the conversation of England goalkeepers. Yeah. To be honest, while we're wishing for things, I'd probably like to get Donnarumma, but we'll leave that for another podcast. Everton players for me, Tom Davies can make a difference. Idrissa Gueye can make a difference. Schneiderlin can make a difference. There's a couple of players in there that I rate, but as a team they scream average, they play average, and it comes to the point where you're not looking forward to a Merseyside derby because you don't think the other team's going to play, and that's sad. It's like Everton are underselling themselves, and I mean, employing Allardyce, I don't care what anyone says, it's a lack of ambition. It's a short-term solution to a long-term problem, and they were never going to go down, really. Do you honestly think that, given what was around them and given the quality of players that they have, if they'd have gone down, they would have been the single most talented team to go down? Schneiderlin, Gueye, Davies, Rooney, Baines. I mean, none of these players are going to light the world on fire. It's just a game, maybe. Maybe Tom Davis one day, but they weren't going down, and it's just pure panic to get Allardyce, and everyone will go, oh, you're just being bitter because they got a point out of you and all that. There's loads of teams that have come to Anfield and got points out of us. It's nothing to do with that. It's just being honest, and it's the same with Mourinho, and it just gets to a point where, let's have it right. The amount of money that's in football now, their job isn't to entertain. It's a business. It's to do what they feel is the right thing to do for the club. And a draw at Anfield is always going to be a welcome result to any club. So I don't blame them from that point of view. But it's a game. It's entertainment. It's football, and it's a bit. As I say, I'm not really looking forward to the football on Friday. I'm looking forward to going to Anfield. I'm looking forward to being part of the atmosphere. I'm looking forward to being part of the experience. But the football, I hope you're right. I hope they come and have a go, and if they do, fair play. But do you feel the same yourself when they rock into town, or?
I mean, normally the derby, historically, it's never a good game of football, as in technically good football. But it's normally a good spectacle.
Yeah.
It's normally end-to-end, blood and gut challenges. I mean, the last one wasn't really that.
It was a training match, wasn't it?
It was Everton defending for however long, and then they got a goal at the end or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's a cup game. We're not going to be playing our strongest team for whatever reason, so they might send a bit of blood there, or smell
maybe
a bit of blood and go for it. I hope so. I just hope it's like an old-fashioned derby where, maybe red card for an Everton player. No injuries though, because I always find players get injured in the derbies or whatever. Or
well, they didn't, as I say, they didn't do the hatchet job last time,
No.
and Allardyce is to be applauded for that. Not much else, but he is to be applauded for that.
But yeah, I don't know, optimistic, but like I suppose pessimistically optimistic there, if you want to oxymoron it. So yeah, I think it's going to be, Everton probably will defend and we'll attack, and it'll be the same as 90% of the games at Anfield. But I'm hopeful that it's not like that.
So you're saying 2-1, I'm saying 2-0.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there, Peter. Absolute pleasure to have you here. Anytime you want to come on the podcast, you're more than welcome.
Cheers.
We're probably going to end up talking about footy many times
Definitely.
before you come on the podcast, because that's kind of what we do. But I couldn't thank you enough for coming on, especially at short notice. And it's
No
good to
worries.
be back in Liverpool, back with my mates, and
same.
it's so much easier doing this with someone in the room.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been my pleasure.
No worries, you take care, mate.
Right,
and
take
I'll
it easy,
speak to you
Rich.
soon.
Bye.
Ta-ra. Okay, so it'd be about this time usually that I'd be saying my goodbyes, but another old friend of mine's popped by, and I was a little bit remiss because we didn't really talk about the Burnley game. So although we're doing it backwards, it's better late than never. So I'd like to introduce you to my friend Steve, again, of over 20 years. Probably the most knowledgeable football fan I've ever met, not to make him blush or anything like that. But yeah, he's going to give us a little rundown on what he thought about the Burnley game. Off you go, Steve.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Rich. Yeah, basically, just to touch on the match anyway, it was a case of the 7 changes that Jurgen Klopp makes. If you make them amount of changes, you could come out with egg on your face if you don't get the result that you want. And obviously, Goodmanson equalises in the 87th minute, and we're all thinking too many changes, too much rotation, it's going to come back and bite them again. Thankfully, 2 men who were much criticised throughout the season, Lovren and Clavan, combined to get the winning goal. I actually thought both of them played very well in the game itself, responding to Van Dijk coming and responding to that criticism as well. So, overall, it was a good performance considering the amount of changes, and they got the result, which was the most important thing.
Spot on. There it is. couldn't encapsulate it any better than that. So there's a little bit of bonus. So that actually is all we've got time for this week. I'd like to thank both of my guests. Obviously Peter, for being there for the majority of the podcast, and then Steve for swooping in at the end and just wrapping everything up nicely. Not much to add, as always. If you want to add us on Facebook, do so on Over the Pool and Far Away. Just giving the email address there. And if you want to email us, it's otpafa@gmail.com. You can have me as well on Twitter, RichieOTP. I don't really do much on Twitter because no one really follows me, so just being honest. If that changes, I'll start being more active on there. Maybe it's my fault, I don't know, Twitter's just not really my thing. And yeah, that's it, and as always, I'll just sign off by saying, come on Liverpool.